Okay. To start with this magic methods, if I can create a .env file. So we need to select the kernel. Okay. As I told, magic methods. There were like many magic methods like this. I have given a list of them. If you see the list, you can see a lot of things are there. But still a lot of other things can be done. So if I can start with some of them, we have already seen the add underscore underscore string underscore underscore etc. Now the next thing is about context managers. So what do you mean by context management? Means like, if at all, context management means like it works like this. We have already worked on this context managers. Let's say if I want to open a file, how I do? So traditionally using like this, right? So I do an addition, open a file. So with the context manager and in a write mode, I open and I write it. The same thing can also be done in another way by using a context manager, I told. Means in context manager, whatever you get it, the end result should be like a as, and we use a with keyword. So then what is the advantage? Without you closing it, whenever the work is there, it will automatically close. That's the main advantage. If I can show you, like, in both ways we can create it. So what is the advantage of context manager? Whenever you open a file handler or like a socket or like anything which is precious, like a DB connection, etc. So instead of you doing, it will automatically do. It's like a try and a finally block, right? So don't you agree? So if you want to implement like a similar thing, so you want to create your own one, that's where we need to create. Say like, let's say for the same file opening, I want to create a my own thing class. Say managed so file opener. So something I'm doing. Okay, I'm creating a class. I need not inherit anything because I want to create everything brand new. In it, I did like this. And whenever you are doing a file operation, what you're doing, assuming like it is like a class, then what will happen? You need to pass the file name and the file mode, right? So we need to ensure that. So, and if you don't pass also, we know that default mode is what? Read, right? For a file. If I execute in the same way, you can notice that. So I give the file name and default mode is read. Based upon what you give, it will come. And so at the same time, if you create an instance from it, same like in the above, I want to create. After doing this, I want to create, say, managed file opener. If I execute now, and if I say like, hey, what is the value of F1? It is creating an instance, but you are not understanding because, so we are not understanding because like we don't have an underscore underscore REPR. Hope you remember STR and REPR are two things I told. Whenever you are displaying, they will come. And if I display the REPR, like what is the file which is opened and in which mode it was opened. For you to better understand, let me do like this. And in the next line, I will add this, file handler. Then you can understand the difference, how it is working. So the moment I added this, did you notice how things came? Earlier F1 means it came just like that. Now as I added this one line, so it gave the context like this. File in which mode? Opened, I wrote it. Now, how do you make it like a context manager? So if let's say I want to do like a context manager. So means like what? I want to perform like this. So file managed file opener I want to do, and I want to execute and add something. So did you see that it threw an error? What is saying? Object doesn't support context manager protocol. How this context manager protocol means what? How it supports. if you can see that. So I will show you here. So what are the files you have traditionally created? For that, we need to add two methods. Means whenever you have like a context manager, what it happens? First, it will create the instance and it will come inside, right? And after the work is done, it will move out of the context. Even in a file also same thing. Once a file is opened, then you came inside and did the file operations. And once you came out, you close the file. Means there are two things. For anything coming into the context and coming out of the context. To handle those two, we need to have like two methods. These are also like built-in, like they have some meaning again. Those are called as enter and exit. This is the exact syntax you need to write. When you are entering, so what will happen? Means when you come into the context, I need to open a file, right? That's what I wrote. And the return of that should be like a file what are you created. And similarly, when you are exiting, so you can have like, so execution type, value, tabs. So everything you can have, like whenever you get an exception, that exception tab I'm saying, whatever you want to use. So generally exit means they use for like housekeeping. If the file is already opened, I want to close it. So after doing this, if I execute the same old statement again, you see now, if I execute, it is working right perfectly. So here I'm printing the F1, the file, so and so, but fine. Did you understand now? You got it? So this is how you create your own context manager. Not only this, tomorrow if you want to create, say, another thing. So I want to create a new class with some other use case. Say I want to create a custom. I didn't write a init or something because I don't want to pass anything. Means not every time when you are creating a context manager, you pass something. So when you pass something, these two values, you need to have a constructor to accept them. So when you're passing two values, you have a constructor to accept them. But if you're not passing, this time I want to do, like say with CM as CM or something I want to do. So in this case, I'm not passing any arguments. So there is no point of having a constructor even. So I want to do some actions within it. So I can do like that. So either, so two ways, right? C is equal to custom manager and you implement like this, or so yeah, so like this also people do, or like in one line also we can do, right? As I told, instead of doing in two lines, so they do like with CM as C. So both ways you can do. Now in this case, you see here, it will execute again, and if there is an error, it will throw in error. If not, it will come. So what is the error it is saying? Hey, I'm getting OS error. What is the reason? We are asking like with CM. So means we are creating instance. So okay, here we are raising exception. So tries except why it is getting an error. That's a question, right? 1 second. If we can observe the error, yeah, it is saying like in enter we have like voice error. We are raising a voice error. Acha, did you understand now? What's the point? When you are doing an enter, then itself we are raising exception. Did you understand? So it is in not even getting here. It is having an exception here itself. So that's the reason. See here, there is an exception. So then like you see here, what will happen? If I do like a try, so except here itself, I'm getting an exception. Print of exception. So after so all this context manager helps only after entering it. If you are doing the things before even coming here, you see now, it handled the exception. It raised an error, but you are not printing anything. So it means like if you want to do, so you can tell that. So whenever you pass on, it is saying like when you create, it is doing an error. So that's how it worked. Like that, this is one small example for you to understand. And in the same lines, if you want to create a custom iterators, so for that, like we need to know how to use another two attributes. If at all you want to create, so there is something like this. You see here, if you want to create a custom construct iterator, you need to have these two things. So like that, for every purpose, you have some underscore attributes. You see, now in this case, I have created one small thing. You see here, iterator and next. The underscore iter and underscore next are the two things we need to give. If I do that, then I can access so any things. Is it clear? The iterator means like, so if you want to create, so you see here, whenever I'm asking the values, you can notice the same. If I ask, hey, give me some values, say I have a function here, just for you to understand, I wrote it here. After creating this, if I add on these things, okay. You see, one after the other, I will show you what's the output. If I just create this function, did you see what happened? Till now, any function when you passed, you're passing an argument. You know iterator, right? Iter built-in function I told. If you have a list, you can pass to a function and we can create a list iterator. So like that class iterator, list iterator, so what happened? So here it created an iterator and you are getting an output. From that, you are supposed to ask. In the instance, you are asking, here, what is the type? Then it told. And if you want to create an iterator, generally here you pass your built-in function to it. So then you can notice that it is creating an iterator. And generally iterator means what? There are two ways you can get the values. Either you can pass the next built-in function to get one value at a time. So that's how you got all the values. Now the point is, whenever you are asking, iterating means when you're doing a for loop, so what value should come? That's what you are saying. And every time when you are looping, what should come? That you are writing here. So like that, if you want to create a custom iterator, you can. Not only that, we can apply even for loop. So we can retrieve all the values, right? So you know what are the functionalities of an iterator typically. So all those functionalities you can do here. So not only that, there is one more thing. If you want to create a immutable classes, this is the most important thing. Can we create a immutable class? Yes. If you want to create an immutable class, you need to be aware of there is something called as underscore slots. Till now, if you create any class, ordinary class, and if you ask like anything, say like I created an ordinary class. So I had some doc strings and fine. I had two attributes. So, and you know, VAS will give the list of attributes, right? So for the instance, fine. And after that, after creating it, so we can also dynamically add new attributes, right? Means this O is there. O is an instance. So O has like the foo and a bar. So if I want to add, there are two ways in which I can add. Either directly like xxxi is equal to something added, or like using the built-in function called as setAttr. If you use built-in function setAttr, we should say the instance, what attribute and what's the value. So added like two things right now. And after that, if I ask, hey, give me, so what is the list of vars of this thing? Did you see that you added two attributes extra? So that is how like for any ordinary class, after creating, you can add a new attributes. That is not a problem. Whereas if you create the same class with this one, we cannot do anything else. Means, let's say I created a small class right now. So for this class, I initially marked as slots is equal to foo and a bar. So you created, it is good. And when I'm creating itself, not even in the definition, something, if let's say here self dot something I wrote is equal to some none, I defined one more attribute. Just if I define like this, you see here, in this case it worked, right? Whereas in the second case, if I added the one more attribute, you see now what will happen. Whenever you have done, we are creating an instance, right? So I create an instance from it. So print of vars of say C something. Did you see it thrown an error? Sir, when you just defined a definition, it was not called. That's why it didn't throw an error. But did you see what happened? This attribute, is like this. What is the reason is simple. You have here defined in the slots only two attributes. So when you're defining, you can define only two. So you are restricting the number of attributes which can be created. So leave about after creating, even in the definition itself, you are not supposed to add new things. So that is what it is. If let's say I created like this, say I commented this one, then I can access it. So if I create it, what it is saying this time? Var's argument must be having a dict attribute. So if you want to access this one, there should be a dict attribute. So you don't have a vars here. So only when something is variable, you have that. If it's not variable, you cannot even get it. So you need to understand. Okay, but fine. So you can use the same thing with the DAR to understand also. But the point is simple. So you created somehow, you removed this one also. Now after this, after creating, if I want to add like something, say like I want to make changes to an existing argument. I created. So already foo is there. I am just updating the existing value. That is possible. Whereas if I am trying to access a new, add a new attribute, say like foo and a bar, if I'm trying to add like xxx, then it will throw an error called as attribute error. That's why I handled it so that I can show you. So we cannot change the things. That's the point. Then what is the advantage of this slotted classes service? So of course, whenever you want immutables, you can go with that. And one more thing, like if I see the size of it. So if you see the size of an ordinary class and this one, did you understand one thing? Compared to an ordinary class, so this slotted class is having a less size comparatively, because there are nothings which are like underscore dictionary like that. Those are nothing is there. So that's why those will help you better. And the same fashion, there is one more module. So like that, so pi amplify. So this is another module. If you want to use, it will also tell you so about its size and other information. You can just research. I'm just giving like a assignment. So what is that like? You need to install it. So install means like pip install. So you need to understand like how to install, right? Try it. So you need to just try it, how things are working in others. Okay. If you install pip install pimpler, so it will work. Basically, it is used to investigate how much memory each one is occupying. So size is like static thing, whereas this is different. So I will not execute this step, just I'm giving to you. And in the same fashion, for you to understand, I'm giving a few more examples to understand. If I define something like x, y, z, okay, as the slots, and I made like w is equal to 1, what do you mean by that? Will it work or not is the question. Will both the cases work? Sir, you defined here x, y, z, but here you define w is equal to 1. Will it work? Pretty much it will work. And of course, both are like slotted classes. So you will not have, vars. So if I do like a DAR, print of DAR of this A, and like print of DAR of B, you can notice that. If I ignore the things which have underscores on either side, you can see. First of all, this is an inheritance. That is also another point. But what I want to show here is that simple. You created A, you told that there will be 3 attributes. Means for the class instance attributes, I am saying. This is a method about a class variable, right? Slots will specify about the instance variables. So specifies on instance variables. So here also specifies on instance variables. And as we have inherited, you see here it has like these three attributes, right? Whether you create or not, by default it will be created and you have it. So here also for the child also has it, because child has defined like W and X. So parent got it. And observe the crazy thing here. So generally any attributes of the parent will get to the child, but child attributes you won't get to the parent, right? But did you see in this case, the parent also got all the four and child also got all the four? So this is crazy, right? So that is the difference between ordinary classes and the slotted classes. Generally, when what are the features are there of the parent, you get to the child when you do inheritance. But child's one will not get to the parent, right? But here it works like this. Even parent also get the attributes and child also get the attributes. Okay, that is another thing. And going further, so one more thing. In the same logic, if I want to use these dunder methods further, there is one more option like this. So get attr. This is another interesting thing. Get attr means like whenever you are creating any object and you are accessing the values, how you are getting that attribute value. So to do that, we can go with this. So what is the point is like, I told you, if anything has like underscore underscore dict, only slotted classes will not have, but any general attribute will have this underscore underscore dict. If it is immutable, it will have. So if it is there, either you can use underscore underscore dict or var's built-in function. That's what we know till now. So I am asking a value data.foo. So generally when you create any class, so from that class, if you create an instance and you access any attribute. So did you see in this case, okay, first initially, okay, you created this class, right? And I'm trying to ask. So initially this value, DAR and so and so. When I did underscore underscore dict, it has only one attribute. But if you are asking this foo, did you see that it is going to here? Means simple. So whenever, let's say this is not there, assume, okay? So assume this is like this. You're getting it. Okay, you got it. And from this, we understood that we can ask only exists. So from data, if I ask like exists, I get the answer. Data dot exists means I get the answer. But if I say data dot something, if I ask, will I get it? It will throw an error, right? So the problem that this is solving is the exact same thing. So if you define this underscore underscore attribute, whenever you are asking for anything, if it is present, it will go there. If not, here. Means like I will write here that, so inside something. Okay. So again, I create the same instance like data is equal to lazy DB. I created like this now in this case also. So after creating, if I say like, data dot exists is present. If I ask, did you see it didn't go here? Whereas if I ask data dot something, if I'm asking, if it is not defined, then it will go here. So did you all understand? So you go, this is a method, so which will be taking into consideration anything which was not defined will come here. So any attribute without defining, if you're coming, it will come here. So hope you understood. Similarly, so that's a point. And here you can decide. Sometimes if you remember the default dict, right? Whenever you take the example of a default dict, whenever the key you are trying to access, if it is not there, it will create the key and do it. So similarly, whenever someone accessing any attribute, say you want to add this attribute, I'm doing a setting that attribute and I'm doing it. So that's why I will not get any error. So I'm just doing. Or else you can write a custom message saying that, hey, this attribute is not present, instead of throwing an error or something as you wish. So that is the beauty of underscore underscore get underscore underscore. Similarly, So like get attr, there is one more thing called as del attr. I think now you understood very clearly. Get attr and delete attr means what? When you're trying to access a attribute is fine. At the same time, when you're deleting attribute, that is also another thing, right? And you understood that it will come to this only when the attribute is not defined. If a particular attribute is already present, exists, it will not go into this method, right? That's you understood. So if you see in this case, in the first case, exists is there, it will not go. But in the second case, it will go into the function and give the answer. And this is fine. And whenever you are deleting, what will happen? That I'm trying to say. If I say delete right now, delete means I'm deleting an attribute, right? See, when I'm deleting, it is going here. So, destructor underscore del means it's a destructor. When the class instance is completely getting deleted, then it will be called. Whereas when an attribute we are deleting, then this del attribute will execute. So obviously after that, if I ask, hey, where's of the same data, you can notice that both are there. And foo, when you're deleting, did I delete here? I didn't specifically delete, right? I just did a print statement. Say, now we can do the same thing here. So whenever you want to delete an attribute, so we can check for an attribute and do it. So if has attr of, because if it is not there and you are trying to delete, again, that is again a problem. So self and attribute, if you ask, if it is present, then you want to do like a del attr of self comma attribute. Did you understand? I wrote a logic right now. So in the same fashion, both the things it will share. Okay. And if I'm asking like where's of data, you can understand that it has both the things. And if I'm doing del data dot foo, if I'm trying to delete, what is saying? Cancelled future operation, kernel crashed, or something happened. But like, my system or something crashed happen. But generally it works like that. Hope you understood. So that is how like these things will work. At the same time, these are called as descriptors. We say underscore get attr and others. In the same fashion, there is one more thing like this to say. So value descriptor of, I'm saying underscore get underscore set are like two attributes. If I do like this, and if I create like maybe like another class, this is like one of the interview questions. That's why I'm making exactly what it is. You see, now it is clear, right? I'm creating a value. So in fact, I can create it directly also. For a moment, I can create directly also for you to understand. But like I'm trying to make it complicated such that you will understand the complexity. So I'm defining like X and I'm asking, I think something happened to my kernel. It is restarting my kernel. Yeah. You see now, when I'm defining an X, it will define the value, right? So that is how it works. So I just created one small thing. So with this, I want to get the value. Say X dot value. It has a value, right? So similarly, X dot value is equal to 52. So it means like whenever I am doing this, whenever you are doing a setting a value and getting a value, those will go here actually. So till now for modifications, when you are setting and getting the values, they will go here. For you to understand this, I can write here underscore. So inside underscore get underscore. Similarly here, so print of inside underscore set underscore. You see, I'm defining again. I'm asking it, it's fine. And I'm trying to ask the value, so it is coming. And similarly, when I'm trying to set the value, it is coming. So so this is like get and get, set, get attr, set attr, like this. These are four things are there. And similarly, now if I can go ahead, the last thing here is about that one more built-in function which you will really like to understand. There is one more module called as like functools. If I do like import functools, so if I do like dir of these functools, if I say like print of dir of these functools, you'll understand a lot of attributes are there. But in this functools module, we used it differently in different situations. In decorators also I showed you in once. In different use cases are there. Reduce we used already, and partial we used. You remember? Even partial method also we can create. So that is too much of it. That's why I don't want to touch. But let's say you create a class. So I want to use one of the attribute actually for that. So there is something called as total ordering. So which I want to use right now. So I just want to tell something about it. Okay. What is this functools.ordering? Say if I say I created a class called as a number. Okay. In this class, I have created some value also, assume I created. Say I'm creating some values. Say n1 is equal to number of 10. Okay. 10. And similarly, if I create like n2 is equal to 20, so n3 is equal to some 30. I created three numbers like this. Fine. Array. So it is because like it is a markdown. So we should ensure to open it this one. Okay, fine. You see now if I executed, I have three instances. If I say n1 or n2 or so and so, this works. But what if I say n1 is less than n2? If I execute that condition, it will throw an error, right? What it says, hey, it is not defined, you cannot use it. The reason is simple. If you need to do less than, right, greater than those symbols, we need to define that relation. Hope you remember. So whenever you're doing this less than, there is an alternative called as underscore underscore less, right? Or underscore underscore greater, like that. If you define that, so now if I define three numbers and I can do the operations, say like if I say n1 is less than n2 is less than n3, if the condition is true, it is showing. Did you all understand what I'm trying to say? So not only this, you can do any operations. Now to consolidately say, these functools will provide the automatic comparisons. So if you see here, functools. So if I do this functool ordering, so you can see that once you have added this one, so the total ordering, basically you implement like less than, equal to, so not equal to, all those things we need to implement, right? Assume these are the two things I did, relations, but relational operations are others also there. But if you want to implement everything, that is again a headache. So that's what they say is like, you implement at least two, and the remaining things it will do automatically if you do the total ordering. So this total ordering will help you to avoid the remaining operations, but you can facilitate that. If you can notice here, I used a greater than symbol. Greater than, right? But did I define a greater than here? No. I defined less than, I defined equal. But less than or equal to? So I didn't define, right? Less than or equal. So all these things I didn't define it. But like things are happening. Because I defined those two minimum and I marked it as total ordering. This total ordering will take care of helping us so for these attributes. In the last thing about, you need to understand, this is very, very interesting and needed. Generally, till now we understood that, so when the class is born, you will have constructor. Constructor is something which will come, right? Now there is one more thing called as underscore underscore new. There is a underscore underscore new method. What you need to understand is that there are two things in any class. Whenever a class definition is happening or so and so, two things will happen. So the moment you write any class, this is the inherent method which will happen every time. So generally it is not recommended to add both new and init in any class. Most of the time you see any code, you will have only constructor. But you need to understand that. So this is a typical analogy, then you can understand. If a person is there, the moment he is born, this method will be called. After birth, you need to have a name and other information, right? So for that, this constructor will help. Hope you understood now. Generally, it is not recommended to have both of them. But like, so this is how it happens. But if you see, if I create something like this, if I say P, did you see? You are neither, did you see what happened? You are getting like I am born or like I am named. You are getting like I am born. The reason being, when both are there, it will take only that. Then what is the point of constructor, sir? No one will do. So when you want to go for a constructor means when you want to restrict the new creation accesses. Let's say if an instance is already there, you don't want to take a new one. In those cases, we can go. So, but in general, people don't touch this underscore underscore new. But assume that if both are not there, only one among them is there. In that case, the second one will take. If you say this time, okay, if I go like, if I comment this one, if it is not there, if I comment it, in this case, see here, it is saying I am born. Sorry, I am named. Means when the construct underscore underscore name is not there, it will come. But when it is defined, so that will be automatically called. And you know what is the point of constructor? Constructor is a method which will automatically be called. So instead of doing it. So both these things will be automatically called instead of you explicitly asking. A simple analogy for it is like whenever you want to restrict the access of something. So this is something called as like, there is one design pattern. I will tell that, and we can stop these classes here. Singleton design pattern. So this is one of the most famous design patterns. So what do you mean by design pattern? Means like, so in the we are in the computational world. In computational world, we know like what kind of problems will come. So to address these problems, how to solve the problems. So there is a standard methods. It's like a standard methods we need to follow. So it's a simple thing, whenever it rains, we need to place a umbrella, right? So because that is a problem that we are facing on a daily basis, to address that solution, we have a umbrella. So whenever you're walking somewhere and suddenly rain comes, you cannot stop somewhere, right? So there is a problem. How do you address it? By having an umbrella. So like that, whenever a problem comes, how you are addressing. So in a computational language, there were many design patterns, but that is out of your scope, but simply for you to understand. So singleton design pattern means what? Singleton design pattern means if a class was already there, you don't want to create one more instance of it. So in that case, we can go. Let's say the most common thing we do in every program is loggers. We create a logging every time. If let's say if you have a big project, there are multiple applications. In every application, you will do this thing. Then like in that case, what we can do, let's say I created a small thing called as logger. I want to create this logger object. So if I say like, underscore underscore init, same like the traditional thing. So if I say like, so constructor is called, means the moment you create an instance, so you want to do something. So I created instance, and if I say like, L1 is equal to logger. If I create, I am not passing any argument, that's fine. And L2 is equal to also logger. I am doing two things. Now you can understand 2 times it is called because 2 instances are created. And if I say like, so L1 is L2, is operation will be true only if both are having the same address locations. If I say address location of L1, comma address location of L2, As I'm doing a comma, it is coming like a tuple. But did you see address locations are different? But like this. Generally, when you are in the same program, you don't want to have multiple loggers, right? So then if you want to avoid this problem, then how to solve it? So constructor is something which can help you to create what all things it need by default, but it cannot dictate on the new construct a new instance creation. If you want to dictate so we need to have a underscore underscore new. But right, so we should not have both underscore underscore new and underscore underscore init in the same class. So then in that case, what should we do? So it is called as underscore underscore new underscore underscore. So in that case, we can address it by like this. If I execute it, you can notice how underscore underscore new is called, underscore underscore new is called. So here also you understood that, okay? But I am trying to say that we can address this problem only here. How to address it? To be precise, this underscore underscore will not take a new. It will take the CLS as an input. CLS will be taken as an input. Means it's a class level attributes, and it will not have like a single thing. It will have, apart from your basic attributes, it will also pass something else apart from it. And unlike your constructor, it will have some kind of attributes which are being passed. So we will not be just like this. So then here, what I can do, the restriction is that I can check for an attribute if it is present or not. So if it is present, I don't want to create. If it is not present, then I want to create. So means like what? I can do a has attribute. For the CLS, I am checking with underscore and underscore logger, some name I give, like an attribute name. So if it is present or not. For this class, if there is an attribute, I will not do. If not, I will add a class attribute. Means class variable I am adding. So now subsequently see what will happen. I am doing this condition, right? This condition I am doing like this. So means like a new instance is created, right? So I just want to write like this. So new instance is created. In this case, if you see what will happen. Oh, sorry, I need to write this condition inside. Sorry. Yeah. If I write like this, now you can see only once it is called. And if I say L1 is L2, did you see it is true? If I say address of L1, comma address of L2, because what you are doing, you are creating only once, and subsequently, if any time the people are asking, you are asking to them to just poke through it. That's it. Instead of you creating a new one. So this is all about a design pattern about it. Hope you understood these design patterns. So fine. And if I can quickly go through, there is one last thing about these called as data classes. Means if I go to the advanced concepts of this hoops, so D advanced, if I say data classes, I think you only don't trust your mind if you go to here, because Python is actually doing things much smarter here after these data classes. So many people even don't even think that so Python syntax was this beautiful. So if you feel like this profile is something, if you want to change, you can go to the lighter one also. You can see everyone clearly. So what is data classes? So will there be data, sir, in this? What is the kind of class we create? Data class means there is a module called as data classes. In Python 3.7 onwards, they introduced this one. In 3.7 onwards, they introduced it. So primarily, these data classes are with this pip so and so. I told Python has a enhancement proposals. Every time for the betterment of Python, they create new proposals. For every proposal, they will add a number uniquely. And this is there to replace it. In 3.6, they introduced it like a separate module, and in 3.7, they introduced inside it. So you need not, install right now separately. We can just use it as it is. Okay. So what is this data classes? So if I do like the data classes, and if I say print of, so dar of data classes, it has a few much data, frozen. So a lot of things are, generating. They are creating new kinds of innovations. Trust me, most of the people right now in the production projects are not using data classes. I would say at least, so very few people are using. I would say in the total Python community, at least uh, not more than 10 to 10-15% are using data classes. So because it is something, a concept which is revolutionized the things. So how actually, what is the purpose of these data classes? I will tell. Say like every time when you create a class, even if you have a small class also, we need to have all the attributes and others. Means like if I have a small class, say like using regular classes, I created a class. I have two attributes and I'm passing them. So whenever I'm creating a instance, so then what I need to do? And if I ask for, hey, what is A1? If I ask, what will happen? It will print it. And what it is saying, hey, it is part of an attribute like that. But if you want to print like a meaningful way, we need to implement the underscore underscore RAPR, right? So if I implement this underscore underscore RAPR, you can notice that this time, if I execute, I'll get it clearly. See here, what are the implementation I did, RAPR? It is helping me. And in the same fashion, if I want to check two attributes, say like, if I want to create one more attribute, say like, say A2 is equal to, same use say regular crashes of, say 40 I wrote, and if I'm doing a print of A2, you see now, two people are there, fine. And if I want to check like, A1 is equal to A2, what it is saying? False. And if I, so generally equal will be there. So equal A1 is less than or equal to A2. Did you see what happened? It threw an error, right? So if you want to do this less than or equal to, earlier I told, we need to implement this logic. So equal to will be there anyhow for anything. Okay, if I ignore it, if I need to do this less than or equal, that kind of relationships, I need to write that particular thing. So less than or equal to or so and so conditions, I need to specify. So how do I specify? If I want to specify this less than underscore underscore less than, so less than or equal to, right? If I implement it, so less than or equal to, or like, similarly, if I want to do equal to also, I need to implement them. So if I have an equal to, I need to implement them. After that, I can do any checks. So if I do like, A1 is equal to A2, it will work. And A1 is less than A2. So it will, what is saying? So I need to implement less than or equal to, right? Less than. So if I say less than, so how I implemented here, magic methods, if I say for the less than, for less than you have LT. If I take that and implement here, you can understand. Here I did a less than or equal to, right? So if I do less than, and it will take the other argument, and I will do the comparison, that's it. So return, so self dot, so self dot, something like I do, name is less than self dot, other dot number, other dot name, or instead of name, I can go for age, right? Age. I can implement my own custom logic I'm implementing. So now you see here, if I am implementing this one, you can notice that. So equal to is happening. As I wrote like here equal, that equal will happen. That is fine. And if I'm doing like less than or equal to, that is also working. But what you understood here is that if for your class, if you want to implement all these things, you need to specifically write it. Only when you write them, you can use it. Else you cannot use it. This is the biggest problem. They're like how to solve this problem. So for that only we have the data classes. In the data classes also there are too many things which we are not interested. At the very basic instant, if you want to create, we have something like from data classes import data class. This is plural, this is singular. Don't get confused. If I do that, I can do the problem, solve the problem. Trust me, you will not trust your eyes. If I do, instead of writing this much big logic, this is called as a boilerplate. So we are saying that Python is much better than Java and other languages. With less code we can write, but still we are writing this much boilerplate, right? So to avoid that much boilerplate, we can just write in 4 lines. You do in 4 lines, that's it. So first constructor will happen. Every time the same thing happens, right? If you pass the same arguments, the same argument will be taken and assigned. So the class variables will be, instance variables will be created. REPR, STR, less than or equal to. Hope you remember earlier, function ordering, total ordering and others. That will make use. So making use of all of them, these all methods will be created in the backend. So it is the Python code. So, but like you need to just implement like that, that's it. Now, if I create it, so something like this, if I do, so the same thing, if I create, and if I ask, hey, what is B1? If you see, did I implement that one? I didn't implement, right? Similarly, if I say like, so B2 is equal to using data classes. And if I say like the same example, which I did, Prakash, and if I say 40, and if I say, hey, print of B2. So if I say just B2, okay, underscore, so print will go for a str, underscore str, right? So it will go for underscore REPR. Both are using. And if I say like, B1 is less than or equal to B2. So, less than, right? What is saying? It is not happening. Yeah, equal to is facilitated, but not equal to. Okay, then for not equal to the others, we need to implement ourselves. But like this, it is implementing. So few other things. Now, if I go for one more example, where we need to have both class variables and instance variables, I can just create like this. You see now here, I created a class called as arithmetic operations. These two are class variables, and these two are instance variables only, like a constructor, simple, and an ordinary method. You are no more implementing like these things. You are just having attributes. If I say like arithmetic operations, so whatever the values you passed there, you need to pass it. If you don't pass, again it will throw an error. Means it's directly. So means as like it is a big confusing, right? So for initial beginners, because we accustomed to one kind of way. So whereas if you do, it will work. And in the same fashion, if I have like one function, so with like this, you see here, what is the difference between these two? It has an initially constructor. So you pass the values to the constructor. Then you use the attribute directly. When in the attribute, you are not passing values. Whereas in this second example, you don't have a constructor. And when are you calling the method itself, you are passing. So when are you creating an instance, you are not passing anything. But for the methods, you are passing. So these are like different ways of you creating the class instances from the data classes. And similarly, if I go ahead into these data classes and say this time, you see here one more example to say is like this time, if I say I'm using like this, means I'm creating a foo. So I told like object is not needed. If you pass also fine. And I'm saying int of so and so. So value should be an integer and I'm mentioning it. So here from now, every time when you are doing, you are mentioning the data type. It doesn't mean that you should pass only the same data type. If you do other data type also, it will work, but it is not a best practice. There is another thing called as linters and others will come to picture. There you will understand when you're doing a production code. So you need to pass like that. So if I say the same 12 as a string also I passed. Two types of things I created. Did it throw any error? Nothing. So in both the cases I can use it. And also not only this is flexible enough. Means like earlier I told about the immutability, right? Underscore slots. If you use that after the class is created instance, for the instance you cannot add attributes. Whereas here, let's say if f is there, I have an attribute like x, y, I am adding the new attributes. It will not throw any error for me. If I say now dir, sorry, vars, right? Vars of this f, which are I created. So did you see this f and has all these things? Because x is already there, I'm just updating the value. So y is like adding new value. This is like updating value for existing attribute. The second one is like adding a new attribute. So, but sir, due to this, what will happen is that, so the next thing that I want to tell is about, immutability. These are immutable objects. For mutable objects, we cannot create a hash. So that's why they call it as these are called as a non-hashable objects. For mutable objects like a list, dictionary, set. So this one, ordinary class, you cannot create a hash. Whenever you're doing a hash, it will throw an error called as unhashable objects. So whereas if I want to do the same thing with a frozen, how to make the things frozen? Same like the function. You just need to do, you see here, you have a function, right? You take the same function. So same things here, I do. But here within the data class, I pass an attribute called as frozen is equal to true. By default, frozen equal to false. But if I do like this, it can create. Data type doesn't matter, but that's not the point. So for if I say x is equal to, and I'm updating something, it will take it. What is saying? Can't assign the field. Yeah, you can take the value, but it will not let you make the changes. So you are trying to assign to a value which is already present. So in the same fashion, like f dot say y is equal to something I'm doing. You see, cannot assign to field x, cannot assign to field y. And also for immutable objects, if I try to ask like this, you see, it is saying like I have only one x and x value is also whatever you have defined 12, right? So I need to say something else. Okay, it's not taking. And after that also if I ask, yes, frozen means like a perfect, it is an immutable. Once you created, you cannot change it. So, and there one more there is something called as named tuples are also called as data classes, but they were like immutables by default. Named tuples, if you remember in the collections I told. And like one more example with this data classes is that when you're defining, we can define different data types. Means like if I say I have a one class this time, I am defining like this. So this object is optional as I told. Even if you don't give also fine, it works. And you are defining like 3 attributes. And when you're defining the attributes, you can have the default values also. And hope you remember whenever any place when you're defining defaults, the default should be placed in the last. Then what happens whenever you're creating any values? Say if I'm creating a book called as Python by Mark Lutz. So I still admire this guy a lot. I learned a lot from him. There's a person called as Mark Lutz. I learned from Mark Lutz, David Beasley. So these are the people whom I learned a lot from. And similarly, so after creating it, if I say vars of this b, did you see that it has 3 attributes? You pass it 2 arguments. The first one has gone to the title, next was gone to the author, the third one price you didn't give, but it got like default 20. Did you all understand? So, but like if I ask b, what will happen? I get values like this. It is of type what? If I say type of b, which was created in instance, right? It says under the main class, I am part of the book class. I am part of the book class. But these data classes comes with some attributes. If I say like these attributes are there, which can help us. If you want like a dictionary, like a tuple or so and so, they can help us. So means like, if I say print off, so as a tuple, if I say, so there is something called as tuple I told, right? This data classes dot as tuple. So selective import. If I pass this b to it, so you can get the answer like a tuple you got, right? In the same fashion, if I do like a as dictionary, if I pass that one here, you can get like a dictionary. And in the same lines, if I say one more thing, yeah. So these are the two things. Yeah. If I ask, I get like as dictionary or as tuple. So like that specifically I can get. And apart from that, to see after getting the results like a tuple or so and so, we can also make use of other functions. Sometimes you want, when you're creating a dictionary, you want like, say I want to create the same about class I want to use it, but I want to add more attributes. So I have a price and everything, but this price I don't want to take a fixed value, but I want to get something like a default value definitely, but it should be a random value. If I need to get a random value, how do I get it? So I need to define some function. So it means like I can define, say, so import random, and I can import that. I can write a function for that. Say random price equal to random dot randint of so and so. So in this case, I want to make like a default. So whenever you want to make like a default, so we need to mention this. Say from data classes import, there is something called as field. So if I import that field, I can mention that. So this is a default value definitely, but instead of a constant, I want to get something. So for that, you need to pass field of default factory is equal to this one. So like that, whenever you want a default value to be something. So after doing this, new kinds of use cases came to picture. So people try to get it. Every time I create a thing, so you can see that every time I create, I get a different price, but for the same values. So like that, we need to ensure. So and at the same time, there is one thing we need to note is that whenever you're taking something as a default value, so a default factory and the default value, both cannot be done at the same time. You can go either of them, but not both at the same time. So here field is used whenever you want to modify like that specifically. And apart from that, so if this class, you remember earlier we got a problem where we are unable to do the less than or equal to and all these things. If you want to facilitate that kind of information, so you can go with this class also by doing like this. Whenever you're creating, till now we have seen only one thing, so like frozen equal to true or false. So by default, frozen equal to false. And if you want to make it immutable, you say frozen equal to true. But apart from that, there are other things also, like init equal to true, means I should have a constructor. But not every classes need a constructor, right? So in that case, we can go like this. Say like I want to create a class this time. So I don't want anything. So if I say like, I have like this, I can pass. So I don't want even a constructor also. Then I can say like, so init equal to false, I can do. So like that I can create. And here it's saying REPR equal to true, means implement an REPR for me, implement an equal for me, implement ordering for me. So ordering means less than equal, those kind of things. So if this ordering is there, so means less than or equal to is there, then we can do sorting, right? Else we cannot do sorting. So this can help us in that. So unsafe hash is equal to false, like that we can specify. So instead of you defining all these things, this ordering and others, so now this will be coming automatically. So that's about the beauty of it. After creating it, so if I create like, so the type of inst, as you know, there is, in data classes, there is one more thing called as meta classes. Make data class. Till now what happens if you want to create a data class, how you do? So we create an instance from it and do it. So in the same fashion, we can do the same thing here also. I think like you can give an assignment here of using this one, but I can do for you also. So b1 is equal to same book of, you write like name, say Python programming, say marklets. So like that, so you take some random names and do it. So you can do now check. So b1 is equal to b1. So b1 is less than or equal to b1. So all those things we can try. Let me try this less than or equal to. Between two instances, I did like not supported. So equal I did. So ordering I did. So equal I did. So less than I didn't do, right? If I go to this data classes class, you can see all the list of attributes I have. You can say if is the equal is there, ordering is there, ordering is false. Yeah, here I got ordering equal to false. That's the reason I couldn't compare. Oh, sorry, when I did a not equal to same b1, I couldn't do it. So let me try that. Okay, so if I do it like ordering equal to true, and then if I do the same thing, if I create it and do it, you see now it is working right now. So that's a beauty, right? Ordering equal to true. Because of that, this less than or equal to, all those things are created. So if that is there, then we can do the like built-in function sorting and others. If I do like b1, of course I created only one of them. I can create like multiple things like this. I can go like so b1, b2, so b3. If I create, say I can do b3. If I do, oh, it is saying like b3 is not defined. Yeah, I need to execute it again. If I execute right now, did you see now what happened? Of course it makes no sense right now because everything is same. So but like if I change something else, uh, you can notice that. So based upon this, I am doing sorting. Sorting means again we need to write the conditions and others. I did something. So based upon the title, it is sorting, right? That is kind of like advantage for us to understand. So this is how you can work on these things. And after that, if I go further, okay. So similarly, there is one more thing like so how to create our own classes and others. And yeah, what is that? Yes. So if you want like any data type, if you want to support like any data type, there is till now we are mentioning like list and so and so. So from now you will work on these data types actually. There is one module called as typing import any. If I take like any, then I can implement like this. So generally, even if you mention integer also, if you pass another data type, it will take. But that is not a correct way. When you're doing unit testing, so there is one thing like code quality analysis. There is something called as linting which can help you if you take like a wrong data type. So programmatically it will work even if you pass anything. To make it much more clear, instead of like integer or so and so, we can specify what data type. If let's say you want to facilitate any data type, you can just mention that. And similarly, like so if you want in the same fashion, one class is there. So based upon those values, you want to pass another class. So in that case, so you can do like this. So there is one more thing called as like so from typing is a module. From now you will use import. So list is something. It is very simply to say I have one class. This class is taking two attributes, two strings. The result of these things, what are the instances are created, those will be passed to it, like a list of those things to this class. So like that we are specifying. So like that you can specify it. Means if I create like a two instances, first I need to create from the playground. if I create like playground, so sorry, playing cards, two instances I created. Now these two instances should be part of this one. So these two instances I need to pass to this one, means like this. So the deck is a class which will take as a list of values of these instances. I passed it, it works. And if I ask, it will work like that. So down the line, so it will be very, very useful for you. And not only that, we can implement the inheritances, all these things, whatever we learned till now, everything we can do. I have one class, so I am passing this as an attribute. So I can just do my work as it is. Now from now, any problem that you are solving directly can be solved indirectly also. And in the same fashion, you can also make like, keyword only arguments for that. Means till now you're passing the arguments directly, right? So you are not just saying like, it should be name, it should be longitude, it should be latitude, like that you're not mentioning. Based upon the positions it is taking automatically. So the first three will be the first three. So the second last one is a country, it is going as it is. But if you want to mark it as like a default keyword only arguments, you can specify that. So when the class itself is there, keyword only is equal to true. Then when you're calling also, you should pass like that. For this one, there is no such mandatory. This one, there is no such mandatory else. So only when you're using this class attributes, you need to pass name and birthday, but others you can do directly. So this is all about. And we, as I told, so constructor and all these things, it's up to you. So give a try and understanding how things are working. If you have any doubt, let me know. So,
Hello.
and like, yes, please.
Yeah, Uday, I have one question that
Yes,
can
please.
you go to the any when you mentioned any?
Any is like
No,
one,
no.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, here,
So here value any is equal to 42.
yes.
So it meaning for return for 42 something like 42
No,
bit.
it will take any value, any data type, but the default value is 42.
Oh, okay. If not something, then it will take 42, right?
Yes, yes. If you do
Oh,
like this now, see here, the second value you give like string, right here.
yes.
So second time, if I don't give this value, if you see now what will happen,
Okay,
it took
got you.
like 42, right?
Okay, got you.
But
Thank
what I am trying to say here is that whenever you are giving, we should be more explicit here in terms of the data type, what type you pass.
you. Oh, okay.
So that's
Thank
a
you.
point. Fine. So like this. So after the abstract classes, sorry, after the data classes, we have one more thing is about the abstract classes. Abstract classes or abstract methods. Classes, methods. So by the name itself, you can understand about what are the methods and classes you understood. What do you mean by this thing? NB. If I can do that. Okay. What are abstract classes? So whenever you have, generally people who come from Java and others will have some way of doing. They call something called as interface. Even if you go for Go language also you'll feel. What do you mean by an interface? Interface means like it's like a template. So like a template. What do you mean by template? Say, um, for creating uniformity, so we want everyone to follow in a particular way. Say, assume that, everyone is coming to school. So they say that everyone should wear the tie, they will need to shoot. So particular uniform, like a template. So means like everyone is following the same thing means if anything abnormality we can recognize, right? That's how the school uniforms and others comes picture. In the same fashion, when you're doing a classes also, if you want to follow some kind of hierarchy in a particular way, some things are mandatory. That's where we need to go for something called as abstract classes. So Python as a language don't have this concept of interface, which is not a exact replica of what we have in Java and others, but we have something like an abstract class. What do you mean by this abstract class? Till now, so whenever you have an ordinary class, in an ordinary class, let me take in an ordinary class. I create an ordinary class. Okay. So I'm doing something like, so ordinary class I am doing, oh, sorry. So class ordinary class I am creating. Okay. If I do a pass, then what will happen? If I say like O1 is equal to ordinary class. So I'm doing making a call, right? I means what? I'm doing instantiation. Hope you understood, right? Instantiation means what? Creating the instance. If I say print of vars of this O1 or DAR also, you can see. At this moment, it has nothing, but fine. So it doesn't mean that it have any values, but you are able to do. So even if, let's say, if we have like underscore underscore init underscore underscore of something, say like self dot, so name is equal to name. I'm passing like a constructor, but with one argument. In the same fashion, when you're passing also, we should pass that argument. Say like, I'm saying like Python this time, and I get the answers. This is also fine. Means any class, when you're creating, you can do an instance out of it, right? This is what very clear. And if you have any attributes also, you can do it. Say like for this ordinary class, I have some attribute. Say hello. If someone asks, it will just print like hello world. That's it. Now if I ask attributes, of course it won't do. If I say like o1 dot say hello, it will execute. Now you understood, right? So this is an ordinary class which has like a constructor. It has an ordinary method. Constructor will be automatically called. Method you need to call, but instantiation is happening. Now the same thing I create with a this kind of abstract class. So for that there is a module called as ABC. So from ABC is a one of the new thing that you are seeing right now. So with this, if I create any class like this kind of thing, say like abstract class. To make it easy, so ABS, sorry, everything is defined, right? So maybe like, abstract, Python is a case sensitive. That's why I'm making something so that you can understand. Abstract class. I want to create an abstract class. Then like what I need to do here, let me tell you. If I take like the input of this abstract class as an attribute and do this, so means like ABC I'm taking as an input and I'm defining. So this is also having like underscore 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 init underscore underscore. Okay. Did you see? It won't take any attributes. Nothing will happen. So just like I am doing a simple pass, like what you did earlier. Say I'm doing like abstract class of this thing. I'm not passing any argument. I'm just asking, hey, what is the value of P1? First of all, let's see. See, no, it is working. So you've taken like a ABC class, it is working. So from that, if you want to pass an argument to it, maybe like, this time I took this argument and I'm passing some values. Define underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So it has an attribute. If I ask like dot value, of course, super class will be called means whenever you have an inheritance for this. At this moment, there is no need. So just I ignore it. So, okay, even if you place also fine. I say self dot value is equal to the given value. What are the value pass? So here I am passing like same Python again, and I'm asking. You see, you're able to create a constructor and so and so. And in the same fashion here, if I do means like if I do like a method, if I say like say hello, how I did I say hello there? If I do here also say hello, say hello self. If I do print of hello world. After doing this, if I say a1 dot say hello, it will execute. See, you are able to create do an instantiation. So two things, right? Instantiation. And also we are able to call the methods. Everything is fine. Now, with this, after this, okay, I am making something very interesting. So I have this called as one more decorator. I am placing this decorator on top of one of this class, method. If I do right now, now we see what will happen. What it will throwing an error. Sir, I'm able to create the instance. What is saying? Cannot instantiate abstract class. From the abstract class, say hello. So what is the problem here? Creating an instance or like saying hello? So if I just do a create instance and I'm asking, hey, can I create instance? I am not even doing the calling the method. See, did you understand what I'm trying to say? When you inherit this ABC, you can just use anything. But within the functions, if one of the method is marked as abstract method, then you cannot instantiate it. So what's the point? Did you all understand what I'm trying to say? So if ABC is inherited, we can instantiate. But if one of the methods is marked as abstract method, we can't do instantiation also. Then what is the point, sir? So what is the point of going for this? I will tell you. So whenever you are doing something, you want like a template. So for that, we can use it. Means like these ABC classes are designed basically like a template. Say if you want to create a car, so car should have a car template. So if I say like, the basic car. So basic car means like it should have what all things it should have. I can write. Assume that, whoever creates. So the car should have like the minimum things. So get chassis number. Every car will have a chassis, right? Chassis number. And I don't implement, just write like this thing. And similarly, so get car model. Like this I'm writing. Okay. So if I do like this one right now, like instantiation right now, as it's not taking any attributes, it's like a template basically. So you see what? You cannot create instance. So these abstract classes are basically not designed to be instantiated. Then what is the point, sir? These will help in us in creating another things. Means subsequently based upon this, you want to create a new class. Say like I want to do Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce, right? Maybe like my spelling is wrong. So I would take like, this basic car. This basic car, till now what happens? Any parent class we can inherit in the child class. Whether you implement or not, it's up to you. But like you can create it, right? Say like, so car rolls. So car R is equal to, so Rolls Royce, I am creating. So this is also not having any constructor. This is also not having any constructor. Just to show you. Did you see what happened? Till now, if you have parent class and inheriting in the child class and just creating, it will work. But here it's saying what? Cannot instantiate without you having this get chassis number class. Parent has like two things. Whether you implement one of them is not. One of them I mentioned that everything should have a chassis number. So then you should implement it. If you don't implement it, it will not even allow you to create it. Now, don't you think like anyone who is creating from it will follow the same template? They will ensure that these methods are executed, right? Now, the conclusion is abstract methods are the methods which are, abstract classes are the classes which were designed to create like a template for the other classes, child classes which are being created. So there will not be any definition here. So they were not even created for instantiation. They are used like a template. That's what you need to think. Now for the same Royal's Laws number, so what is saying? you need to implement this get chassis. So now if I implement, so get chassis number, no matter what I did inside, that method should be defined. If I define, it works. It is expecting us to make a definition, that's it. See, if we don't give the other one also, it is okay, but you should give it. So if you do both also, it will work.
Okay, and either of one we have to implement, right?
Not either one. Whichever you have marked as like abstract classes,
Oh,
those should be mandatory.
okay, got it.
Others, it's up to you. So I mark it like this, right? Abstract, okay. Now I want you to do a research. Assignment is that. So can we do the abstract methods I told? Abstract variables. Will there be abstract variables also? Like variables which need to be mandatorily mentioned? Or is it really needed or not? So that one you check it. So that is a research assignment for you. Hope it's clear. So like that, there are multiple design patterns, meta programming, a lot of things are there. If I go ahead, so I can speak even like, so days and days on this. So Python was more enhanced these days to have all of them. So with this, I want to stop. So on these things. And if I can focus next, we will go to the unit testing. Everywhere you go, no matter what role you are following, so code quality is the most important thing. Code quality. So what do you mean by code quality? Code should have quality. What do you mean by that quality? Means it should have certain things, like it should be good enough, it should follow certain aspects and all the things. What are the code you are doing and others. So for the first thing, if you want to check how your code is there and others, there are some basic tools, for the static code analysis. So these are like, I will tell about them shortly afterwards. But like for now, you understand that there are few static code analysis tools. Static code analysis tools. What are the static code analysis tools? How these things will be there? What do you mean by static code analysis? What do you mean by this static concept? Till now, if you want to analyze anything, what you do? First, you need to run the code, right? That is how you do it. But the static code analysis tools means they were like a list of tools. I can just give it. You can, whenever you have some time, just walk through. These tools will not even execute your code. They will check your code as a unit. Assume that you have a code to connect to AWS and get some data and do it. So, but like this will not run your program. It will scan your program and get the results. Based upon that, it will tell what is the issue and others. So when you are going for the projects, I will introduce one of these tools slowly for you. What is this pre-commit hooks and all these things slowly. But understand that these are another thing. But first, for you to understand something is a problem or not, first you need to differentiate, right? So for that, like I will tell you what is this concept of static typing and others. Just in the previous chapter, I told a few things. So there is something called as static typing. What is the main problem with Python? Python is a very good language. So here we can write everything very sharp, very fast and all these things. But the only problem with Python is it is a dynamic type language. As it is a dynamic type language, we don't know when a particular value will come in runtime and so what data types it will have. Most of the problems, if you see in 100%, 70 to 80% of the problems in Python in production projects problems are because of these types only. Whenever you are adding an integer to a string, so string to a float, so like that only these problems comes. If you can fix that problem at yourself, the half of the problems will be solved. So for that, they thought like, so the person who created Python, so Gudavan Rusum, he actually came up with one solution. Like that, at the same time, parallelly, others also came with multiple solutions to make it static. Static means you should specify the data types. Hope you remember earlier I showed, right? Any type or string type like that. Though is not mandatory, these kind of static tools when you will help us to run such that if there is a function which accepts two integers, but you pass like a float somewhere, you can correct before even going to production. For that, there was different modules. So called as MyPy is the most common thing, which this Good one resume has supported. Similarly, Google came with like PyType, Facebook PyRE, PyWrite. These are all things. So the most common is like MyPy. And so they came up with some constraints for us. Sometimes you want some arguments to be optional. Some things you be like combination of multiple data types. It will not be like integer only or float only like that, or it can be like any literal or like annotated. So new types, you want to create your own custom type, or like sometimes a function will accept one of the class result instance, so like that new type. So like that different things need to be done. For that they came up with different constraints. So what are these actually and how they are helping us, if I can work on it? So let me open a IPYNB for you to understand. It's very easy. So I didn't tell till now because you should not feel like Python is a very strict syntax or so and so. I want to give you that liberty. That's the reason I didn't do. If you want to work on this static typing, so any module you need to implement. So first install it. So there is one thing like this MyPy. If you want to use it, you need to just install it. I told like there are multiple ways of installing any command line tool in the Jupyter notebook. If you want to write a exclamation in the starting and write any command line tools in Jupyter notebook will execute. So it is doing what? If it is not there, install. If it is there, you are update. Please update. That's what you're trying to say. So it will install that MyPy. So after installing MyPy, so we can use it. Of course, earlier I remember in 3.7 or 3.6 this was introduced. So it came like a third party. Now, of course, you need not do specifically without even that executing. You can just use it. So I think now it is not needed to be installed. In now I'm using 3.11, right? 3.11 here. See here. I don't think in 3.11 this is again needed. It came built in, I guess. So anyhow, it was installing. There is a module called as typing. If I ask, hey, what is the help of this typing? You can notice the typing module is for like supported by this pip. And if you want more details, you can go to this website. And what it is saying is about how it is implemented and others. And if I can see here, the list of attributes of this one, just I want to show the list of attributes it has in one place. Instead of like a dir, I am doing like this. You see now what all things are there. So like till now, what you have seen: abstract class, abstract set, any. Just now you see, right? Any string. So like async values, await, binary IO, like different data types are there, right? So all the data types were mentioned here, like int, float, string, whatnot. For every data type means only the types mainly. So get any arguments, get origin, so values, operators, or overloading, or anything you have. But it is not like a one day work for you to learn everything in one shot. It will take your time. So but like, so you can do. Yeah, I forgot to tell, like this one. Yeah, so from 3.7 it came built in, so you need not install again. So from 3.6 onwards it came built in, so you need not install. No need not to import again. So now what will happen if I say a traditional approach? Till now, how you have a typical function means what? You have a define hello, you pass hello world, it works. You don't do anything, you just pass the values, it works. Now here, what we will do is like, we will pass this typing. Hope you remember whenever I'm doing, automatically it will come some suggestion, right? This arrow mark means like what is the return from it. This function is not returning anything. So I can mark like a none. So it is like, sir, what is the advantage, sir? This means program will work exactly like that. But so it will help you when you are doing this static type analysis. I told the earlier, right? Static code analysis. Without even running your code, they will understand if there is a problem or not. So that is an advantage. Similarly, if I go to one more example, you see now, I have a function which takes one argument and I'm passing the same argument and doing. So now you pass anything, it works. But here you are explicitly telling that, hey, colon, see here, after every data type, so every variable, you pass a colon and do. Means like I'm telling about it, colon and the data type. And you are returning, saying in none. Now, if I do different data type, does it mean that it will not allow? It will allow. But in the static code analysis tools, they will detect it. During the CI/CD process, before pushing the code, this kind of static code analysis will check for any kind of bugs. So that is the advantage. So though as a language, they cannot change the language to be static type, right? Suddenly. So by introducing these kind of like safety checks, I would say. And you see in this case, this is taking one argument. It is not returning anything. So it is returning this time. So now we see here, it is taking a string and returning also a string, right? So we are mentioning explicitly. So after arrow mark, if something is there, we are using it. And similarly, if I go for one more example, you see in this case, what happens? In a traditional approach, it is taking one argument and you are returning string of it. Means whatever the data type comes, you are taking it. You are okay with any data type, you are converting to string. See, you are getting the results. In the same fashion here, so for basic data types, int so and so, those are built in are there. So for any and something, these are new things. They don't have a data type, right? They don't have built-in functions to use it. So that's why we need to import from this typing. If I say like any, means like you can pass any data type, but return should be a string. That's what you mentioned. It works like that. Hope it's clear. So in the same fashion, if you want to work with a dynamic typings and if you want to work on it, so we can go with like a, there is one more thing. If let's say for basic data types, fine. If you return something, it will pass. What if you are going for iterators? So dynamic typing means like, see here, you are taking an input and you are returning what? An yield. So of course, it's a generator function. So how do you specify that generator yield is coming? Means what value you are passing? Again, integer. So you want to give an iterator, which will give a integer at a time. So that's what you are explicitly saying. Hey, I am giving an iterator. From typing, you can import that and use it. If I use it now, it will work. So if I execute, it will work both ways. Now, did you understand? We are not changing the functionality core. We are adding this kind of safety checks to help us better understand, to help us better address these things. And similarly, if I have like, traditionally, there is one more thing like from these typings, you can import another data types also, like a dict, list, tuple, all these things. And traditionally, let's say you have a tuple containing 3 values. First one should be a string, next one an integer, next a float. Assuming that this is the syntax of values, signature of values you want. Then how I did a tuple of str int float. Tuple is a built-in function, right? So this one typing, I'm doing like this. See, when I'm defining a variable, after variable, I did a column and I'm passing this. Means it will help us down the line when you're doing this processing. And also these days, every interview, they're expecting you to write the code also like that. So that's why it would be give a lot of importance to you. And similarly, you have a integers, okay? All integers only. I can say list of integers like this. And similarly, if I have a list of tuples or something, I can do. If I say I defined a new variable, like it's a alias variables. Every time we cannot use it, right? If let's say the same variable I am using same signature for multiple times, I can create like a alias type. Alias type means if let's say I define list of, tuple of, float, instead of every time writing the signature 100 times, I can create a custom alias type and use that, call on that custom type. Sir, will it change the data types or nothing? Nothing will change. Your code will be as it is, but it will help us in understanding things. And similarly, if I go for a dictionary, You see now, I'm saying like I want to take a dictionary. Dictionary means it will have key and a value, right? So the key should be a string and value is an integer that you can specify. This is like, so for a JavaScript, if you add types, it's called as a TypeScript. TypeScript is not a new language, same JavaScript, but adding types, right? So here they didn't say like, type Python, same Python only. Typing is a one of the option, that's it. And also this is optional. If you add, it would be great. So hope it's fine. Any doubt till now?
No.
Okay. So not only this, there are like multiple examples like this to help you understand. So if I go with one example, say like, yeah, okay. Say I have a function. You see in this example, I have a function which is taking like a vector, means like a list of floats. Vector is not a new type. It is like an alias. You see this function is there. It is taking first one as a float. Second one is this vector, means list of floats. And the result is again a list of floats. You see, whatever you take, you can do like this. And similarly, when you are calling also, you can do like this. This is also one example. And similarly, so there is in this typing function, there is one more thing called as a default dict. Hope you remember we have default dict also. So like that, if you want to create a signature for a default dict, hope you remember we did a char frequency check using default dict, right? If a variable is not there, we are just using it. So if you want to create it, so let's say how we did a character frequency analysis. If we have a word, hope you remember we did it. If you have some string, if you want to take the character frequency analysis, so if I take like a string I want, and I want to give return a so character frequency analysis. Say like my result is like yes yes how many times? So yes 2 times, or like yeah so 5 times, like that I want to get. Then with this, what you can understand, you can define a function, right? Like char frequency analysis. Char frequency analysis. And you told like so you want some variable, you can take like given string. So whatever you are given like is a string, right? And what you need to return, so in this case you need to create a dictionary. So you can say a dict, and what's a dictionary key should be again a string, and the value should be what? Integer. Is it clear? So you define the signature. So I can write like a doc string for us to better understand. Okay, doc string. Doc string means you can write, right? I wrote like a doc string. So function level doc string, and within that I need to implement. So if I implemented something, how do you make a call? I need to pass the values. And if I pass the values, say apple, I need to get the result. So how I do? If I get a characters for each character, right? Say for each character in given string, in the given string, I go each time and I need to create. Say like so frequency, I told I want to create a new variable called as frequency. So frequency is I say I want to create a like a dictionary. So till now I want to create like a dictionary. So then what I need to do whenever I want to create a dictionary, so I can say like hey, it should be of type dict. It should be of type dict, and it is like this. Then what I'm doing, frequency dot set default of each character, comma. So initially 0, and subsequently you are doing frequency of each character plus equal to 1. So and finally you are returning what? Returning this frequency. So don't you see you got the result? I'm here using a dictionary, that's why I'm using. Now the same method can be done in multiple ways, right? So one another way is like what? Using collections. Collections, you remember from collections, import collections I'm doing. Instead of like this, if I do like a default dict, I need not pass everything. is equal to like collections dot default dict, and default dict of, so the value should be like a I can specify like what it should have. Default dict of integer, if I say, so instead of I doing this step, I can directly do, just do a plus equal to, it will take care of it. As I'm defining it like a default dict value, so I need to do like this, from typing import this default dict and use it. So default dict type, instead of like a ordinary types, you have a default dict type. Similarly, you pass like a class instance, so you need to pass the class as an type. So like that, for everything you can pass these types, and say you are creating your own type, you can assign like this. Say here, user ID is your name. The same thing you need to pass both times, and for instead of integer you want to use that. So generally for complex things you do alias. So if you, for a simple things also, if you want to do, you can do like this. So like this you can create your own custom aliases like this. And similarly, not only that, so hope you remember whatever we have learned till now in the data classes. For data classes is the place from where you started these things, right? If you see evaluate, you can understand. In a data class, you understood very clearly. Whenever you're specifying the things, you are passing the data type also. So that is a clear example for you to understand that that data type should be there. And similarly, if I write one more thing also, it will work. It will work. And if you want to check whether this is following these data types or not, so I want to check, right? So now real time practical usage. So if I say like, practical usage.py, sir, if I do something and if I'm not following it, how can I recognize it? That is a point, right? So if you want check anything like that, so whatever you have, so Python space -m. So you install this mypy, right? Mypy. And what are the script is there, right? Script.py. If you write, it will check for this. Say like if I'm doing a simple example, addition of number one, which should be like an integer. So and like number two, which should be like a so integer again. And you are taking both and you are resulting in a again an integer. So this is what your expectation is. And you do return of n1 plus n2. Only in that definition only things changes. And you do like print of addition of say like 10 comma 20, 10 comma 20. Now if I execute right this thing, you'll understand it. I need to navigate to this directory, copy path, Python b so and so. Generally program I execute, what will happen? You know, right? A Python program these days can be implemented with .py also, or by3 b also we can execute. Sorry, I think it's not defined for me. Generally Python space b so and so. This is how you execute any program, right? At the same time, now if I say Python -m, this mypy just now installed it. So I can write the same program called as b so and so. So no module named mypy. So I can say like pip install -u capital U. So mypy. If I do, it will install it. So after installing it, I can ask, hey, can I use it? I think like it's taking more time. So in due course, like I will implement another solutions also. Means like if I was given floats also, I should work, right? I should do like floats. If I was given like float also, I want to give float. So I'm checking like whether I'm giving float or not. And something happened. Yes, it is done. So Python b so and so means this is how you execute a program. If I say Python -m mypy this same b so and so, it will check whether everything is correct and you are passing the values like that or not. It's saying what? Name addition already defined in line 4. You defined again. Did you see? I defined already and I defined with the same name twice. So even that is also a warning, right? It is also not correct. So that's why I say like, addition float. If I define right now, addition float. And if here also I pass like addition float. Now, if I execute again, I define two functions, everything is good. And it is passing like floats, everything is good. And here, for this first function, I can pass like 10.3 and like 2.4. I passed a float. The same float I am passing here also. So instead of a function, I am passing like this. For both the things, I passed integers and floats also. See, now the true errors are coming. Observe here what is happening. So argument 1 is incompatible type float. Where? So in line 8 it is saying. Line 8. Line 8 it is incompatible. So you are not supposed to do that. So and in the second thing, again line 8 also it is saying for the two arguments it is giving two warnings. If I comment that, it's working perfectly. Because for float means it expects even integers also. So what if you want like, so I want to do both. So any of any data type if I want to take. So I can specify like any. If I say like, so this is not a good example for it. Maybe like I took one example of a so hello world of say name any data type you give. So I want to return a say like f of name is equal to whichever was given. I want to get it. So means what? I want to return a string, right? I want to return a string. So if you want to use it, then what you need to do? Import typing. From typing, you want to import any type, any. So if I do like this now, if I say hello world of say record it. Okay. So if I take right now integer, a string I'm taking, an integer I'm taking, and a floating point value I'm taking, and I'm taking a boolean. I'm taking like 4 data types. And if I execute, you see now, if I execute, did you see all nothing was happening? And one more example, I want to create for either addition with like, both the things. You have this situation, right? Here you are able to pass only integers, here int or float, so and so. But what if you want to pass any two data types, two specific types you want to pass? So in that case, we can go with another example. In that case, like, say you can take a function, define, so hello world. So I want to take like, assume the same name, but I want to take, there is something called as a union. So by the name itself, it says confusion actually. Union means we expect both, but it is something like this, integer, and like you have a string. I am taking like a union. So for that, if I say like from typing import, so union, if I do, sorry, union, I can use it. So the same hello world, I take it, but whatever I comes, I return like a string. So what I'm doing here, so whatever I'm doing, I'm converting to string and I'm returning it. Now we see in this case also, I can do the same thing again now. So two types, because like if I use the same variable again, it will throw in error, right? Just I am doing like this. I am passing integer means, so like this, I passed 4 types. So I told integer, I am doing like 4 types. Now we see what will happen. What is saying? error in line 38. So for first two, it worked. For the line 3, what it is saying? Incompatible type float I got. Here you pass it like a float, you cannot do it. So if I define like, float also as one of the. Now, if you see in this case, the error is good. It is taking even float also. Now question is, sir, why it took a boolean? Do you know that bool is also of type integer? Do you know that? Bool is also of type integer?
Yes.
Yes. And similarly, in Python 3.9 actually, in 3.9, they introduced new concept. So new operator was created for union. Means the same thing. So I will do like with a 2, okay? Just so that you will understand. So it's it's not like 2 types, right? In fact, 3 types, right? 3 types. If I do like replace all, it will do. And here I want to replace. So 2, 2. Okay, 2 I did. Now it will not throw any error for me. It will work. And here, instead of like this, what they told is that, hey, use the same operators, but do like a pipe. There is a pipe symbol, right? You can see a pipe symbol. That pipe symbol you can use. You need not write like specifically this braces and this union and so on and so. Now it will work exactly in both the cases. Is it clear? So like this. And also like if you have an optional value. So how do you pass an optional value? Say like hello world, same hello world, say like hello world 3. And if I want to take a name, which is like a optional, if you don't pass also, it should work. So then I should do work. I don't want to make it complicated by adding everything together there. Hello world. And if I saying like name, and I'm saying it should be like a optional string. Okay. If I say there is something called as from typing import optional. So I want to take like a optional string. So I would take like, optional of string C is equal to world. And I want to return a string. Return f of hello name. Now if I do hello of, so instead of if I do like hello of something like a Python, and if I say print of, and in the second case I am not passing any argument, in both the cases it should work. So did you see it worked? So this is how you define. So after the name itself, you just define the colon and do it. It may be like bit confusing initially, but slowly you get accustomed to it. And if you are getting like a list of values with an optional values, so that also you can do. If you want to pass like a list of values, say like, so average you want to do. Average means if you want numbers, it should be a list, right? So list means we need to first define from typing import list. So, and list means what? It should have some values, right? Say list of integers you want to take, and you want to return what average means what? You want to return a float, right? That is what. So you want to get the total number of values by, so sum of the values by average, right? I can say sum of numbers by, so length of numbers. So if I do, I get right. So this is a typical example. If I do like print average of say some values 1, 2, 3, 4, something 5, it will work. If you don't pass values also, if you do empty also, it's gonna work. So in both the cases, so some values I'm passing, it is working. And so now in this case, you see here, if I do an use case here, if I don't pass any values, then what will happen? Syntax is good, but if I execute this program, then you will understand. If I say B so and so, what happened here? Zero division error, right? Zero division error means what? So the program is good, but when you don't pass any values, so the value will be like this, right? So you understood. Means it can result in an exception also. Means either you can get a value or an exception. How do you handle in this case? So you will have these kind of use cases also, right? Either you can get a value or an exception.
The try catch.
No, handling try catch is okay, good. But in the typings, I'm saying, in the typings also we need to handle exceptions, right?
Oh, yeah.
So of course I can handle it, but I'm trying to ask how to handle exception.
Which
In the same fashion, so simple. So whatever you do, you're trying to raise an exception. So you want to handle it. So that exception we should write first. Say that you can get it, but either of that, right? So either you can get a value or an exception. Either of them you can get. So how to implement that? If I want to update it further, that if I execute it, I can get either of that. I can use a union operator or like this, right? Okay, zero division error. I did. Zero division error is a built-in one. So I can do like this now. Now, syntax, okay, exception handling is secondary. So the code will be broken. That also I understood. This is okay. So maybe you write a try exception somewhere to handle it. Maybe like I'll write a try except zero division error means like, so don't pass empty list. Empty list. Okay, that's what you understood the problem. You handle that. You handle that problem. But if you go to the other thing, it is working, right? Did you all understand?
yes.
Logically, it will take either a floating point value or a zero division error. So you want to handle both of them. Okay. So next, I told default arguments like this in these cases, because in real time, you'll get a lot of use cases like this. And the last two things I want to touch is on star args and star KW args. We remember this thing, KW args, because whenever you write a decorators, these are the most important things, right? Then like, how do you implement it? Star args means what? You can have like any number of arguments, but all the arguments should be of a particular type, right? You expect in a particular type. So then obviously you can take that. So define, um, say like, print function. Print function you are taking. What are the arguments you're getting? Like, star args I am doing. Star args means like any values. And you want like, right, args will take it as a tuple. And a tuple list is there, tuple if you want to take. So from typing, import tuple. So it will take like a tuple of what data type you want, say like integers, if you want to take. And if I pass the result as what? I'm not doing anything. I'm just want to print it. What are the values I get? What are the values I want? I want to take all the values and I want to print it. Args. Till now I'm returning everything. For the first time I'm not returning. I'm doing like this. So this is my print function. Now for the print function, if I pass like empty values, so technically it should work. So if I pass like one value, if I pass like three values, if I pass like some other values, more values, it should work, right? Technically to execute, if I say b so and so, practical usage, it works. So no, logic also works. And if I say Python -m mypy b so and so, if I execute, that also it works. What are you saying? Has incompatible type int expected tuple of integers. So how to handle this situation then? You have like an optional. So any thoughts?
With the union?
Pardon?
Like with the union?
Union. So union will come when you have like two data types, two separate data types, right? So means like either integers or strings if you want to allow. So then I can use it. So union will come to picture when you do like this. So you have like one of them as a string also if you want to pass. In that case, union will come. But here, what is the error you are getting? So print function has incompatible type integer, expected a tuple of integers. So then like how? So it means like what it is expecting is you need to pass like a tuple of values. If I pass like tuple of values, then it will work. You say if I comment it, it is working, right? Where I am tuple of integers is compatible with tuple of integers got. So means like, see here, you got like multiple tuple of multiple values. So you are getting tuple of not one value, tuple of multiple values.
Maybe in a return none, we have to pass tuple of integer.
No, no, no. So what it is expecting, so I will explain the question first, then I'll try to give a solution. What it is saying is that if I pass print function, okay, and if I pass like 0, or like if I pass like 1, so it means tuple of single value means what? We should have a comma at the end, right? And if I pass like this, and if I ask right now, did you see, is it working?
Yes.
Now, did you all understand what I'm trying to say? Tuple of integer I told means within the tuple, it is expecting only one integer. And if I tell that this tuple should have like two integers, so it should work like that. If I define now with the same tuple with two integers, so it means tuple of two
Yeah.
integers, int
Yeah.
comma int.
Yeah.
It expects like 1 comma 2, 2 comma 3 like that. If it is there, it works. But if you want like a sequence, means you want more values, right? You cannot just have like that, right? So in that case, then how to solve the problem? So to address that only I'm telling. So hope I want you to understand the problem. So this is like 1. I want to mark it like 1. So this is like a 2, something like a 2. So 2 arguments. But like any number of arguments if you want to do. So how I need to do? Fine. When I'm defining, I need to pass one more thing. From typing, import, there is something called a sequence. You want like a sequence of values, right? So I can specify that sequence of values. If I define like a sequence of integers, then whatever comes to me, I can just use it. So if any number of arguments you have, right? So any number of arguments. I just want to do it like this. Okay, if you see now, technically, it is working. Oh, what is the problem again now? So line 1 or 2.
We have int total.
Oh, int is of sequence of integers. Star args. Oh, I need to define star args, right? I forgot to remove. I added star. I forgot. Yeah. Now you see what will happen. I got all the things, but from 107 onwards, I got the issue. What is this 107? It is saying, hey, you are supposed to pass like a tuple of values, sequence of values. You passed it. Means like, individually you want to pass, right? I want to pass individually.
Maybe in the print we have to pass star args or only args.
So here it's a default arguments, star args and default arguments, right? Hope you remember
Yeah,
what are the arguments you pass.
later on print args.
No. So when you're defining, you are mentioning like a sequence only. What are the arguments you get? You just do it. So till see the error is compatible with integer. You are saying like a sequence of integers. What is saying? So argument 1 to so and so print any function is a compatible with type integer. I expected a sequence of integers, but like you gave individual one value. Okay, how it works like that. Star args I have sequence of integers is sequence of integers. The same sequence of integers I placed. It should take as it is, right?
Uh,
Yeah, this is one thing we need to see. So why it
maybe
is not taking?
maybe we are AST is the string. That's why
Which
we
one?
pass 109 line.
Okay, that you can ignore. Okay, if I ignore this one, so the other should work, right? No. If you see here, for everything it got the issue. Why these many things came is from 106 onwards it's showing the error. What it is saying this, I am expecting that arg type issue. So I got incompatible type integer. I got like a single integer. I am expecting a sequence of integers. So we need to see research this. This is a practical problem. So if I research, if I pass like a variables like a sequence, now it will work. So means like if I pass 1, 2, 3, for example, I'm passing like this, like an ordinary thing assume. So two values or like a three values. If in this case it's working. So if I pass like a tuple this time, full of three values, or if I pass this time a set of three values, no matter what data type you pass, you can pass like this, it will work. You see, but saying incompatible set of sequence. Sequence means not set. Maybe like it will work for both integers and tuples. So if I pass like set or tuple, it is working. Sequence of values. Sequence means either integer or float. We can see here alias of sequence. Okay, sequence. But like what I want is different. I want is like for any arguments, right? Variable arguments. If I want to pass. So either of variable arguments or variable keyword arguments, both I should facilitate it. So if that is not possible, that's a problem. So I just want like this star args and star KW args. So like that I want to do. If I want to do like that, why couldn't do earlier? So now if I execute this function, my function of, if I pass like one value, also it should work. It is saying like incompatible type, right? Again, for the sequence.
Maybe one value is not pass only because earlier also that was we are passing one value and we are getting the errors.
No, here sequence means it is taking like a, the list of integers. So here it is taking like a, so tuple of integers. Means either a list or a tuple it is taking, tuple of integers. And here also, you have a tuple of ints. So, but like if I say, like a set, it gonna not take. If I take like a set, it is not taking. That I understood. The sequence is not taking like this. But generally I implement like this only. What happened is equal to 1 if I give. It's like a keyword argument so and so. What is saying incompatible type integer. This is what I need to facilitate. Okay, we got one problem. So we need to address it. So if I do something like a crazy thing, integers, values, so and so. So line 123 is also it is showing it. I am expecting like a type. I got like a dictionary of strings and so and so. Key value like that I told. But this is what I will tell. I will check on it. But like overall, you understood the remaining topics about the typings and others, static typings and other informations. But like this is very much needed. So in a real time. So nowadays, every program they are using this the same way. So as quickly I can go, I can come back on these things afterwards, and we can quickly go to the doc strings. So before going to the, we can do the doc test and we can stop by giving introduction on the unit test. So testing means like we test the things in different perspectives. So the first and foremost way is the documentation related testing. So here earlier you wrote a code quality in terms of typings, right? Now in terms of documentation also you can do a testing. What do you mean by documentation testing, sir? If you want to do the documentation testing, you can do like this. So there is a built-in module called as doctest. We can use that. If I do like -v, it will give the result in a more verbose way. So if I take one example and do it, let me take a real world examples. Say one example I have. I am doing what some kind of addition, or like I am doing one square function, square. If you are given an x value, I would do square of it and return. So what I do, return x into x. That's what, right? Expected. So I want to test it means what? Define if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equal to underscore underscore name underscore underscore means if it is directly executed only, you want to execute. Say you want to print square of 2 or like 12. You get some result. Say if I do like a print, I get it, right? I execute. Python. You see, if I execute, I'll get it. This is a typical program. And you remember, I told for every program we can have doc strings also. I told you remember. Within the doc strings, we can add anything about the function. I can tell that this is the function so and so. This function will return the values and it will do something I don't. Then like what will you test here? There is nothing, right? It is just a code. But just imagine if you are doing the same thing in an interactive mode, how you work? If I take this function in interactive mode and I dump this content, means what are the function I have? So if I want to test how I do, square of 3 I do. Sorry, square of 3 I give. I got the answer. If I do the square of -3 also I got 9. And if I say -3.4 I got answer. -3 33 I am doing, got answer. Like 33 I am doing, I got answers. So whatever you got these answers, you will take this as a reference and you save it and place it here within the code. If within the code, if I place, like within the doc strings, if I place, see, it is like a documentation. And you are telling that when you are executing this code, you will get this answer. Okay. And if I come out of this interactive mode and come again, execute this program. Generally, if you execute this program, nothing will happen. It will execute as it is. Then how do you test the doc test? If you want to do the doc test, so there are two ways. Either within the program you can ask, or outside also we can ask. If it say if within the program, if you want to ask, so generally no one will do this kind of nonsense. But like if I write a doc test here, general imports we need to do in the starting, and you want to check it. For checking, we have like doc test dot test mod. If I execute this thing, means when our program is executing itself, it will execute. If there is a wrong, it will show it. Say instead of 10289, if I say like say 95 something I wrote extra, then if I execute again, did you see what happened? It is saying that hey, for this failed for this test case like 33, expected like this one, but I got this one. Means you are telling that if you execute this one, you will expect this is the result. So as I added the extra 5, I removed it. Now if I execute again, it will work. In the same fashion, if you want to execute the same thing, there is another way using the Python -m doc test I am telling, right? Like that also you can do. Yeah, hope you can hear me.
Yes, now.
Okay. I thought like suddenly it was stopped. Fine. So fine. In the same fashion, whatever you do, so this will happen. You can do like a doc test like this also, or within this also. If I do like this, and after changing this value, did you see the error came? And if I again correct it back, you can see that if I execute, I get the answer correctly. Even if there is a mistake, you write the mistake, but you do the general execution like a Python code. Your general execution, code execution you do. General code execution will not be touched. If you do a mistake within your thing, so only when you do a doc test, it will show the issues. This is all about the documentation testing. If I give like multiple examples for you to understand, I can take like say one more example. So this time if I go on with something like say, see now in this example, you wrote it. So you don't want to do anything. As I told, in real time, we will not write it with code unit test like this. So you write like ordinary code executions or something. So whatever your daily codes, how you do, you use it as it is. You take the function, say like you pass like 10 comma 12 or something, you execute. But this doc string will help you when you are doing your job. How I do? Python -m doc text. So b so and so. If there is an issue, it will show. If let's say I am adding white space or something, then the doc test was corrupted, right? So you will understand. Someone unintentionally does also, you'll understand it. So, or like if I say like a dot, you see, no, what it is saying? I'm expecting 46 dot, means like 46 a floating point value. I got a integer. So like that also it will check and validate to you. Don't you think it is helpful for us in terms of documentation? So it will help us in writing a better documentation. So these doctors were there to help us like this. As a program as a whole, we can test. And similarly, when you're testing, there is other ways also. In the test mode, we can have like a hyphen globe, right? Python hyphen m doc test hyphen v we can pass and execute. At the same time, there are some flags also. Instead of you executing them, you can write like this also. You know, doctors dot eclipse and other flags. There are many flags like that. Verbose equal to true. If I do that also, it will execute. And here, so it is executing like this doc test entirely. And there are issues. You're saying like hello world. And observe carefully what I told here. Hello world I wrote. Means after that I wrote hello eclipse. You see now in this case, I'm directly executing the program. See so and so. I wrote hello world. Generally here what will happen this program? World is an optional. If you take it, it will execute and print it. If you pass the world, it will print like hello world, else it will print say anything. So whatever comes, first hello will come, after that whatever you pass, it will come, right? So to prove that, you can also write a docstring like this. If I say like the three dots, it means that first a hello and a white space will come. After that, anything can be. So if you want to that kind of result also, you can specify this. And if I want to go with a more complex example also, I can present here for you to understand. See now, I have a function which is taking two arguments. For these two arguments, it is doing means initially I can dive one whatever I want. The moment I read this three column, this is called as chevron Python operator. So if you write this function call, you can do it. Similarly, for the in a class also we can for methods we can define like this. Okay. So now you take the example. I want to show the things differently. That's why I didn't as typing this doc test. Doc test individually showed, typing individually showed. If you combine all of them together also, then you will get it. You see here, I did something like this. Hope you remember this symbol during the functions I told. If something was like this, both values which were defined before should be position only arguments, right? Like that you are mandating. Similarly, if there is a star, after that everything should be a keyword only. But in this case, only this one means before that left of it should be only position only. That's why if I pass first two values direct positions, two positions, three cases it will work. But if you pass values like this, it will throw an exception, right? So when you're doing an exception, generally anytime when you're doing an exception, in everyone's program, the exception message exactly will not be the same, right? Hope you can understand. So if I say like, if I say like, the same power, if I go to, here only, say I am passing the same example here. If I'm executing, if I execute, what will happen? Python space e so and so. If I execute, it will throw an exception. But when you're doing an exception, did you see the syntax is same in your program and my program? But did you see this file name will be different from your program and my program? But if you want the exact case, then how it works? So these kind of things can be better handled with this Eclipse operator. The moment you write like Eclipse, means anything in middle can have, but the ultimate thing should be like that. Hope you understood what I mean to say. Now, based upon this, you understood the basic things, but till now you are not checking the logic. So hope you remember I told that errors are there, logical errors are there. Errors means like exceptions, means if language correctly, if you didn't write, also you get. But like, let's say you were supposed to do addition, but what if you used in a multiplication operator? That is your mistake, right? It's a logical error. So you expect a function to do some kind of primary numbers creation, but it is not creating like that. So all these things, any code if you write, if the code should be worthy enough, means code should be reliable, means we need to add the unit test. So unit tests are most important actually, if I say. So next we will see about the unit tests only. So maybe like tomorrow we can see again. Second. Any doubt till now? So if not, like, so we will work on the unit test in two separate modules. So for for the unit testing, there is something called as unit testing and the integration testing. Generally we go. Unit testing means like the checking the code piece by piece. Means individual function. Let's say you have a code which has like 10 functionalities and you want to test it. So for that, like we have it. In unit tests, so we will mark the third parties, dependencies, etc. And for unit testing, so we have like two modules. One is like a unit test module, a unit test module, and the other one is like you have test module, test module. And there were other things also, like so like a nose and others are there, but which are not that famous. The third one is like a nose test, but this is not that famous. But these were like most common like unit tests. So unit test is the most common thing we use on a daily basis, and a PI test also. These were the most common things. So before even going to the unit test, first, if you want to know how a typical testing strategy is there, that everything I will explain in the next class. Any doubt till now for anyone?